Shogun. 4 a.m. Shibuya is a city that never sleeps, but at this hour, there were few people at Scramble Crossing in front of the station. Instead, the square was filled with taxis, there to ferry home drunks who couldn't wait for the first train. Most of the taxi drivers had their seats pulled back so they could nap. A few of them, though, took their jobs more seriously. They leaned forward on the wheel and watched the 107 building in Center Street. But tonight, they weren't watching for potential customers. They were watching, with interest, a cleaning crew that had appeared about a half an hour earlier. How did they know that it was a cleaning crew? Because each of the men wore a yellow armband with the words "cleaning crew" on it. That's a pretty dead giveaway. Otherwise, no one would ever have associated them with the term. The men were wearing black suits, and the whole time they'd been here, they'd showed no signs of starting to clean anything. Something tells me they're a different kind of cleaning crew. One of the men held a strange measuring device that looked like some kind of pendulum, and the others were around him, using it to take readings of some kind. They weren't staying in one place either. They were going all around Scramble Crossing and taking measurements they would then write onto a piece of paper. Right now, they were directly under a traffic light, silently watching the pendulum device. It made a sound.
地点 L2 の8、0.62 メガ GE、ハイスコアです。
They playing Pac-Man?
先月より38ポイントもアップか。思った通りだ。
But no one in Shibuya that night was watching the cleaning crew that closely, though. As soon as a passenger climbed into a cab, its driver quickly forgot about the cleaners. And most of the drunks had already passed out and were in no position to look at what was going on around them. The cabaret girls and prostitutes, finally free of the stress that came with smiling at nasty drunks for hours, were getting into taxis to quickly return home. And so, no one realized that the government had not announced any plans to clean Scramble Crossing that night. Vampire. Even after the weekend ended, the furor over the fourth New Generation Madness case, the Vampire, showed no signs of slowing down. The corpse of a man, drained completely of blood, his skin turning a sickly, inhuman green. It was found in a toilet on the Shibuya Inokashira line. Not only that, a photo of the corpse was put up on an online auction site that, oh my god, why did they have to... Online auction site at about the same time that the corpse was found. The bizarre, cruel nature of the murder meant that media and 8channel were sure to leap on it. The message on the auction page had also attracted a lot of attention. There is a shortage of Type B blood. Large numbers of tissue packets advertising blood donations with that exact same text had been handed out in Shibuya. I had a packet of them with me right now. Thinking back, that strange text wasn't an ad for blood donations at all. It was an announcement predicting the next murder. The cops were looking, oh, I get it. Shortage of heat, like the guy himself is short Type B blood because they took it out of him. I get it. The cops were looking for the part-timers that had been handing them out, but nobody could find much of anything in the way of clues. There was something very different about Vampire compared to the previous cases. There'd been signs of it during the Crucified case, but this latest murder really felt like a theatrical crime, a spectacle meant for public consumption. Some pundits were suggesting things like bringing more cops into Shibuya, or establishing a curfew for anybody under a certain age. But the number of young people visiting the city showed no signs of going down. The Scramble Crossing and Center Street were as packed as ever. The net was in an uproar. Several snakes, or internet detectives, were going around Shibuya and giving live reports on what they saw, and a popular new phrase was spreading among the youth of the city. Whose eyes are those? It was spreading not just online, but among the dokyuns who walked around the streets of Shibuya. On 8chan, people were putting the phrase at the end of messages that had nothing to do with New Gen. This week's Blood Tune didn't have enough Seiratan. Whose eyes are those? The new weapons they added in the latest patch are kind of shit. Whose eyes are those? What kind of whose eyes are those is that? That one's just obnoxious. What kind of whose eyes are those is that? Like that. That sounds like the internet. New Gen was nothing but a source of fun for the youth of the city, but to me it was an absolute nightmare. That said, 3 days after the vampire incident, I'd started to calm down. Of course, it was still in the back of my mind, but a solid weekend of ESO had helped me forget all the awful and unexplainable things that had happened. Today was a school day, and I'd even managed to make it through the day's classes by sleeping or thinking of rare ESO items. I'd grown up a little. And so, like always, I headed to At Cafe after school ended. I was happy to see that my designated spot, room 37, was open. It had been 2 weeks since the last time I'd come here. It was the first time there'd been such a long gap. The musty smell of the breeze coming from the air conditioner, the stench of the cigarette smoke clinging to the manga, the pleasant feeling of the reclining seats, and the silence, punctuated by the snoring of middle-aged men. It felt so good to be back.
ルーム37の PC のチャットログを調べさせてもらいました。そこから分かったことは、あなた一人の自作自演。将軍は、あなた自身。
I remembered Yua's words and looked over fearfully toward room 36. I checked to make sure it was empty when I'd arrived, and since I hadn't heard any sounds coming from within, it probably still was, but it still scared me. I stood up, looked over the partition, and confirmed it was empty. Relieved, I sat back in my reclining seat. I hadn't seen Yua since then. We were in different grades, and I didn't go to school that often in the first place. So of course, we wouldn't run into each other that often, but...
Yuaの妄想はすごいよ。
I felt so bad for her. She must have a terrible mental disorder. It was best to just ignore people like that. Things with Yua had just been a disaster from the start. So, I am curious if it's like... She seems to suspect that he has dissociative identity disorder, and that's why he's also Shogun. Like, Shogun's an alternate personality. But based on that scene with her, I feel like maybe she has it. I don't know if she has it, and that's why she's learning about it. She thinks he has it, or possibly both. Maybe she has it and thinks he also has it. It could be one of those things. That's what it seems to be. For the past 2 weeks, I'd been dragged into one mess after another. Until then, my life had been incredibly peaceful. The only person who talked to me was Misumi. Why was all this bizarre stuff happening to me lately? I didn't even want to try and think about it. Imagine your, ingrained childhood trauma becomes an internet meme. That would suck. That dying message was just a coincidence, I decided. I mean, they were all really common words. If somebody with a brain like mine could come up with them, anybody could. I didn't care who that message was meant to reach. No, that wasn't it. I couldn't let myself care. I suddenly heard a noise nearby. I shuddered in my reclining seat, shocked. It was the sound of a phone ringing. But whose? It's probably yours, dude. I'm guessing he forgot he has a phone now. The place was silent, so the ringing sounded really loud. I looked around, but I couldn't even see a phone. Oh, I guess... Did he say... I think he said he put it in a drawer or something. Maybe not. Oh, no, yeah, it is his. Okay. I suddenly had an idea and looked around inside my bag. Just like I thought, it was the phone I'd bought several days ago. Trembling, I looked at the screen. Phones were supposed to show the number of whoever was calling you, right? Should I pick up? But I didn't really like talking to people. Who was calling me anyway? I hadn't given this number to anybody. The only ones who knew it were Nanami and the rest of my family. She'd put their names into my contacts too, even though I hadn't asked her to. If the number dialing me was one registered in my contacts, it should display the name instead, which meant it wasn't my family. I believe they're calling to ask you about your car insurance. So, who could it be? The phone kept ringing. Were people always this persistent when they called your cell phone? Yes. I'd never really used one before, so I didn't know for sure, but it was really annoying. They were just barging into my private space and ringing my phone until I answered. That's... They're called telemarketers, man. They'll get you. They do not stop. That was a violation of my privacy, wasn't it? That's why I never wanted a phone to begin with. Oh, it stopped. Relieved, I looked at my the phone's liquid crystal screen. One missed call, it read. I didn't know who'd called, but I certainly didn't feel like calling back, so I decided to just ignore it. I should learn how to set up voicemail so this didn't happen again. Cell phones were such a pain. I didn't like phones anyway. I mean, they were really weird. How was anybody ever sure that the person they were talking to was really who they said they were? There were a lot of phone scams out there, right? Did people just not bother to check? I just couldn't understand how somebody could talk to someone else when they weren't even sure they were real. I understood the physics principles that let you talk to somebody far away via phone, but I still found it hard to believe. When you talked on the phone, your voice was turned into an electronic signal. This signal was transmitted down a wire to the person on the other end, and then turned back into a voice so they could be heard. In other words, if you wanted to talk to somebody on the phone, your voice needed to be transformed a minimum of 2 times. For a cell phone, first the electronic signals created from your voice were sent to a nearby cell tower, then transferred to a switching center via normal telephone lines. It always comes back to science lessons, wasn't it? Science, semicolon, lessons. That's the next game, I swear. From there, they were sent to the tower nearest the person you were talking to, then sent via electromagnetic waves to their cell phone. It was an incredibly complicated and bizarre process. If my voice was being transformed into electrical signals, could the person I was talking to really hear every single thing I was saying, exactly the way I said it? Wasn't there a chance that in the process of turning it into an electronic signal, it could end up being turned into something else altogether? For instance, say I called Nanami, and instead of my voice being sent directly to her, it was sent to some weird building somewhere. And there, somebody I'd never met could pretend to be Nanami. Maybe I wasn't even talking to a person. I could be talking to a computer. That's why talking on the phone was so scary to me. It was scarier than even talking to someone in person. That's how I feel about text. I can handle human communication fairly fine. I still get anxious, but texting, it's like, I know I'm gonna say something that's gonna make somebody mad, and I'm not even gonna mean to. I'm not gonna mean what they think I meant, and it's gonna suck. Anyways, I logged into ESO as Liz-a-Lot, and 3 hours passed quickly. It had been 2 weeks since I'd logged in as Liz-a-Lot, but today I was able to do a great job with the character, and was really satisfied. I left for home in a great mood. Center Street was as loud and obnoxious as ever. I always hated it. And thanks to all the store's lights, it was so bright that it didn't feel like nighttime at all. At the end of the well-lit street, I saw someone in the crowd and recognized them instantly. I froze. So you, The girl was... Oh. Oh yeah, she's the mean girl from school. And also now she has a sword. Staring at me intently and ignoring the huge crowds around her. In the middle of Center Street, where it's hard to even walk straight among the endless streams of people, She was standing stock still, holding a huge sword on her shoulder. It's a sick looking sword, I'm not gonna lie. It's really cool looking. I've always liked the double, like, the split sword design. So sick. It was a bizarre scene, but nobody seemed to notice her sword. They parted around her like water in a stream breaking against a rock, moving by without the slightest change in expression. It was the girl I'd seen at the 107 building. She'd been there when I'd gone to buy a phone with Nanami. The shape of her sword, the sume uniform, the long black hair, it all matched. This was the girl who'd been watching the crowds from up on the stairs of the 107 building. And I remembered something else when I saw the intensity of her eyes as she looked at me. I'd seen her once at school, too. Long, shiny black hair that extended down to her waist, oval eyes, a pretty but intimidating face. It was Girl B! The one who'd so rudely asked, "Who are you?" in the hallway after school last week. Why was she glaring at me anyway? I turned around to see if anyone was there, just in case I was being self-conscious. I thought maybe there would be someone she knew behind me, but there wasn't. She was looking at me with something that bordered on outright hostility in her eyes. Yeah, it was me she was after. I flinched. This must be how a frog feels when a snake is bearing down on it. There was no way I could glare back. It was hard for me to even meet her gaze. I had no choice but to look down. I should run away, I thought. Usually, I'd take a left at the intersection where she was standing and head across the book fat? Book fat. But today, I'd go around the front of the station. I don't know what book fat is. I mean, I don't know if that's a store, a street. No idea. There were a lot of people there, but it was still better than dealing with some scary 3D girl. She might be trying to mug me. I mean, would you be able to stop her? Look at that sword! It looked like Girl B was alone, but it was possible she had a bunch of her Dokun buddies lying in wait, and they were trying to lure out and beat me up. Well, I wasn't gonna fall for it. I turned around and couldn't believe what I saw. For some reason, Girl B was there. I quickly turned around and looked at the intersection where she'd been standing a moment ago. She wasn't there. Oh, good. She's got instant teleportation. Just... I looked ahead of me again. She was still there, holding her sword and glaring at me. When did she get in front of me? Nobody could be that fast. You'd practically have to teleport. How was she able to tell that I'd turn around anyway?
Oi.
Her voice was shockingly clear. I desperately looked around. I wanted to believe that she was talking to someone else. I searched as hard as I could for that someone else she might have meant to address when she said, "Hey." But of course, there wasn't anyone. The only people nearby were a group of salarymen. They looked toward her for a moment, but quickly realized she wasn't talking to them and kept moving. Suddenly, she took a step toward me. Oh, God. That was all I needed to be fully sure. Girl B was after me.
お前見えるのか
I was terrified. No girl in my 17 years had ever been aggressive toward me. Also, I imagine they probably also didn't point a sword at you and threaten you with it. Tsubaki Kirimiya, known as Sunko, could be really mean when she was in a tsundere mood, but not even she was this bad. Also, she was a 2D character from an H game called Thermidor. Even as my brain was thinking about tsundere H games, Girl B was still getting closer. She was a girl. How could she be this intense and scary? I thought it was strange, but the reason was actually quite simple. Maybe the giant fucking sword. Oh. Yeah, of course, the intensity of her eyes. That, and the huge sword she was carrying. It had an extremely unusual shape for a sword. In an anime, it would have looked really cool, but if you tried to use it in the real world, it probably would be completely useless. It had to be from a mecha anime or something. Were there any new mecha anime lately? I knew it was a cosplay prop, but it looked so sharp, so strong, like the slightest touch could take your finger clean off. It was such a strange weapon.
見えるのかと聞いている。
Girl B was within 2 meters of me now. If she swung that sword, it was sure to reach me. I quickly took a step back, but it was too late. She got even closer. Oh boy. Don't make me choose. And she really swung it! Oh god, I pressed the wrong button. I hate that button! I hate that button. I pressed the skip button, you know, the button that does the skipping that I never mean to press ever. I crouched to the ground with my head in my hands. If I hadn't dodged, it would have hit me right in the head. It probably wouldn't have actually cut me, but with that speed, it could have given me a concussion or caved my skull in. Please don't hurt me. I was so freaked out that I could barely speak. Alright. Girl B was looking down at me coldly. I wish I hadn't skipped that. Damn. I really need to just, like, pull this button out and never use it. There's something wrong with her. The way she was swinging around a sword with this crowd. Was she a serial killer? Maybe she was the new gen killer. Or working with the demon girl? Also, the sword is glowing now. He hasn't noted that. I was shaking. I was about to piss my pants with fear.
何を勘違いしている。
Really?
私はただ見えるのかと聞いているだけだ。
I mean, if she's talking about the sword, I think it's pretty fucking obvious that he can. She's just kind of being a dick at this point. What was she talking about? If I couldn't see it, would she kill me? I couldn't answer if she wouldn't tell me what I was supposed to be seeing.
少し落ち着け。もう一度聞くぞ。この剣、ディソードが見えるのか。
The D-sword? I'd never heard that word before. She had to be talking about the sword she was holding. Oh, boy, you don't say. I decided to nod. Of course I could see it. How could I not? It was huge, and she was holding it in the middle of Center Street. I mean, maybe in Akihabara I wouldn't have noticed it, but Shibuya wasn't an anime town.
そうか。お前も集められたんだな。
Gathered? Who was gathered? And by who? I was here of my own free will, at least. I was here of my own free will, at least.
エラーを見たことがあるか。
Please to speak Japanese. Okay, thanks. Oh, that's funny. Hold on. What does the tip say about that? Please to speak Japan. It's short for please to speak. Used to tease someone who's saying things you can't understand and tell them to speak more clearly. So please to speak Japanese. Okay, thanks. Oh, that's funny. Was what I wanted to say, but I didn't have the courage. If I said the wrong thing, she'd probably stab me. I didn't have any idea what she was talking about anyway.
見たら教えろ。
She turned away after she said that. Her skirt flew up as she turned, and I almost saw her panties. Oh, priorities, my man. Focus. I quickly closed my eyes.
私は3年の青い瀬名。駅前の電車にいる。
I opened my eyes, and the girl who'd called herself Senna was no longer there. I stood there in complete confusion, and it was only after I got back to the base that I realized I hadn't understood a single thing she'd said. Oh yeah, it was a bizarre encounter. Of all the weeks to have to go to school 3 times, what a depressing day. I heard a strange cry. That was a strange cry. Hold on. That's funny. A few meters away from me. It was so sudden, my body jerked in surprise. I looked toward the source of the noise, and...
おに
That lady. Nanami ran over to me at incredible speed. I tried to escape, but it was too late. She got in front of me, blocking me in. She'd always been really athletic.
ちょっとなんで妹見て逃げるの？
Because you're obnoxious, obviously.
あ、そうやってすぐ黙るし。
Really, why did my sister decide to go to Sume Academy? Of all the places she could have gone, it was a huge pain from my perspective. From my perspective, the Jedi are evil. Whenever I saw her at school, she'd come over and annoy me.
ねえねえ、携帯どう？使ってる？使ってないでしょ。買ってからもう何日か経ってるけど、一度も家にかけてこないもんね。
I feel like that's also my experience when I first got a phone was like, finally I got a new phone. First experience, spam calls. That's it. What a joy. I tried to walk fast to shake her off, but she followed me, refusing to give up.
家に生存報告の電話ぐらいしなよ。そのために買ったんだから。どうしても嫌なら、そのナナの携帯にかけるだけでもいいからさ。お母さん心配してるんだからね。そもそもちゃんとご飯食べてんの？どうせコンビニ弁当ばっかなんでしょ？やっぱお兄に一人暮らしは無理なんだよ。家に帰ってきなよ。ナナがどんな気持ちでお兄の様子見に行ってるか分かってる？いつも心配でしょうがないんだからね。
Shut up! What is your problem? Are you my mom? Why do you have to talk about this in the middle of the street anyway? I'm already in a bad mood and you're just making it worse. It's incredibly embarrassing to have to go to school with your younger sister next to you. Sure, it happened a lot in H games. In fact, I loved it when it happened in H games, but Nanami wasn't nearly as good as a 2D girl. No, not touching it. Nope. Somebody give me a cuter little sister. Nanami and I walked toward the school side by side, a bad mood simmering between us. I looked over at her, hoping I could get a chance to escape before we reached the school gate. She'd been so mad a moment ago, but now she was quiet and seemed kind of out of it. Her eyes looked like they were drifting out of focus, or was that my imagination? Her footsteps were unsteady. Just as I realized something was wrong, she stepped out into the road. A car was coming right in front of her. This seems bad. I grabbed her and pulled her close. The car drove past, its horn blaring. She narrowly avoided being run over. It's hard to tell with these games, man, at this point. Like, that could have easily just been like, and then she got hit by a car and exploded on impact.
Oh my, 何やってんだ?
あれ?
She seemed confused. Her eyes were blinking rapidly.
ナナ、今なんであんなこと？あれ?
Was she a total moron? Why didn't she know what she'd just done? Just to clear, this wasn't Moe at all. Not Moe in the slightest.
何やってるんだよ。車にひかれたいのか。
車なんて来てた?
Of course there was. Was she going senile on me?
ねえお兄、今ヒュンヒュンヒュンっていう音聞こえなかった?
Huh? What was she talking about? I hadn't heard anything at all.
その音
Is she
聞いてたらね、
cracking right now?
なんだかぼんやりした感覚になって。で、あそこに。
Nanami pointed to the corner.
お父さんとお母さんが立ってて、ナナを呼んでたの。
I looked where Nanami pointed. It wasn't my parents there, just some creepy guy. He wore a checkered shirt, fingerless gloves, jeans with the legs rolled up, and white sneakers. The backpack he also wore was stuffed full. It looked like any otaku you'd see in Akihabara. And he even had a video camera in his hand. Maybe he was some kind of peeping Tom.
おい、他人を指さすな。
What a rude little sister she was. Why would our parents be here anyway? Our home was in Shimokitazawa.
おかしいな。確かに呼ばれたのに。
The man looked at us. He was pointing his camera toward me and Nanami. Ew, what was his problem?
行くぞ、ナナミ。
I got scared and ran away, leaving my sister behind. That's a good idea.
お兄、ちょっと待ってよ。
It's not like she just tried to walk into traffic or anything. Just leaving her behind is fine. I managed to ignore Nanami until we got to school, then headed down the bustling hallway toward my own class. When I walked down the hall, I always walked on the side. I'd always make sure to go at the proper speed, not too fast and not too slow. I'd make sure to keep my head down so I didn't meet anyone's gaze. Those were my 3 rules. I needed to be like the air, invisible. If I didn't want to stand out. That was my way of surviving in this world.
よ、タク。
Once again, however, someone appeared who would make doing so impossible. Misumi ran up to me from behind, and as always, gave me a too friendly slap on the shoulder.
おいっす。挨拶ぐらいしろって。ま、お前がそういうやつだってのは分かってるけどよ。なあ、この前 D 組の女子の話したよな。めったに学校来ねえけど、すげえ可愛い女子がいるって。その子、岸本綾瀬って名前なんだけどよ。実はその岸本に関してすげえ発見したんだ。
Suddenly lowered his voice and looked around to make sure nobody was listening. He was probably about to say something dirty again. I felt vaguely sick and was ready to let out a huge sigh.
フェスいるだろ？フェス。
Oh, I know Fess. Yep, I'm familiar. But when I heard what he said, I gasped.
その岸本ってのがフェスなんだよ。俺マジビビったぜ。まさかフェスがうちの学校の生徒だなんてよ。しかも俺らとタメだってことだぜ。
Well, that's exciting. For some reason, he decided to lean out a nearby window and look up at the sky with an expression of joy.
運命ってきっとこういうことを言うんだな。
We were on the 3rd floor. If he slipped and fell, he'd snap his neck and die. I felt tense just watching him. He leaned forward even further and looked down at the entrance of the school.
お、噂をすればなんとやらだタク。岸本を発見した。もうすぐここに来るぜ。
I was just about to say that. Why is she coming to school all of a sudden? She never does. That was a crazy coincidence. Maybe there was some kind of fated connection between them, like he said. Not that I cared.
よし、待ち構えてやる。見てろタク。俺のナンパ術ってのを見せてやるよ。
Oh boy. There was a note of total confidence in his voice. It must be nice to be attractive. Sigh. Picking up girls was a foreign world to me. Not that it was one I had any interest in. 3D girls, anyway. Sorry. A minute or so later, Fess, wait, her real name was Ayase Kishimoto, right? Appeared. I really like Fess. Sorry, Ayase. Misumi was right. It was clearly her. I stood back, a good distance away, and looked at her carefully. It was a shock to see that she was the same age as me. Fess was wearing her sume uniform and walking slowly with a look of ennui on her face. She looked like a completely different person than the way she'd been on stage. When she was singing, there had been a sense of power and motion in her voice, even when she was speaking softly. But now she just looks kind of sad and unapproachable. Misumi must have seen it and decided to deliberately ignore it, because he walked right up to her side and with the same over-friendly attitude he always used with me.
よ、岸本さん。
Oh,
おはよ
what a brilliant but completely fake smile. How could you act this way with somebody you've never met before? He was an inspiration, an idol, but not someone I wanted to copy. Not in the slightest.
う。あ、俺三角大輔。よろしく。おっと、初対面とか思ってるだろう。でも違うんだな、これが。俺さ、こないだファンタズムのライブ行ったんだよね。だから君に会うのは2度目。で、その時君の歌声にこうなんつうのビビってきちゃったんだ。別に俺ミーハーとかじゃねえよ。惹かれたのはさ、詩とか君の可愛さとかそういうところもあるけど、でも何より一番すげえって思ったのはやっぱバンドとしての完成度っつうか。
Well, he has a real way with words, huh?
あの音あっての君の歌声っつうの。ちなみに俺も実はバンドやりたいなって思っててさ、よかったらああいういいバンドメンバーを見つけるコツとかバンドの先輩としての心得みたいなもの教えてくんねえかな。あ、今すぐじゃ迷惑だろうから、そうだな、放課後とか暇？どっかで二人きりでじっくり話さない？
Misumi kept talking and talking. The way he spoke was different than usual, and his voice was louder and more cheerful. And he wasn't directly hitting on her either. He was talking about her band as an excuse to go out with her. I want her to, like, not say a word and just let him finish talking and then just walk away. That'd be the funniest thing. I never heard anything about Misumi wanting to start a band. It had to be a lie. I understood now. He wasn't just hoping the two of them had something in common. He was setting it up so that they would. But... Fess didn't even look at him. It's gotta be the red one, right? You gotta make it bad. We gotta make this guy crash and burn. Or I guess see him crash and burn, and then he'll probably still crash and burn in reality. She walked right down the hallway as if she didn't hear anything at all. Yes, that's what I was hoping for. Ghosted.
なあ、聞いてる？
Fess suddenly stopped. She looked up ever so slightly and slowly pulled out a knife. Looked right at me. Oh god. Huh? Me? I remembered how it felt like Fess was looking at me at the concert. Over the last 2 weeks, a lot of 3D girls have been staring at me. What was going on with that? Also, coincidentally, they all happen to have swords. I guess you didn't have a sword. Ugh. But what was going on with that? Had I suddenly gotten really attractive? Alright, what nightmarish experience awaits me now?
そこの君。
はい。
I froze, stiff as a board, when she spoke to me. There was this otherworldly, unreal aura about her. It made her seem older than me. But she wasn't, was she? She was in my grade. Fess jerked her head in the direction of Misumi to show she was talking about him.
付き合わない方がいいわよ。こんな人と。
Damn.
おいおい、こんな人呼ばわりはひどくね？っていうか、こんな人ってどんな人だよ？
鬱陶しい人。
は
あ? Misumi looked really annoyed. He was glaring at her, but she didn't seem to care about him in the slightest. The mood between them had turned really sour. I didn't want anything to do with it. Fights weren't my thing, whether they were verbal or physical, and if I caused a problem at school, they'd put it on my report card. That is a face I didn't think I'd see from Misumi, even if it is just a delusion. That's a grumpy Misumi face. Maybe I should leave before anything else happens.
何？もしかして岸本さんさ、俺？
別に。でも、迷惑よ。
あ、そうなんだ。そういうこと言うんだ、岸本さんって。ちょっとさ、人のいないところで二人でゆっくり話そうぜ。
Oh boy. Misumi smiled, but his face was twitching with anger. He put his hand on Fess's shoulder. I saw her eyebrows twitch.
触らないで。
そう言うなって。いいからちょっと付き合ってよ。
触らないでって言ってるの。
うっせえな。ついてこいって言ってんだよ。
Listen, I know I picked the bad one. I picked the red one. I made it red. I get it. I didn't think it was gonna get all rapey. I did. I really didn't. I thought it was gonna... What? It only took an instant. Okay, maybe I jumped to conclusions. What is happening? I'd been watching the whole thing and still couldn't totally tell what happened. I could see that cool-looking mic stand, or maybe it was a sword in Fess's hand. She killed him. Okay, that's a different direction I thought I was going. All right. I didn't know where it had come from, but Fess swung it like it weighed nothing at all, and the blade flashed in her hands. And Misumi's left arm had been sliced off at the elbow. There was a huge spurt of blood as his severed forearm and hand fell to the floor, then rolled across the reddening floor of the hallway. I couldn't see it. Couldn't see a thing. Couldn't see her take out the sword. I couldn't see her swing it. I couldn't see it cleaving through Misumi's arm. It had all happened in the time it took for me to blink. The next thing I knew, it was all over. Misumi had collapsed, then picked his arm up off the floor. I don't know why that sticks out to me. The idea of, like, you have your arm is cut off at the elbow, right? Just sliced, removed. You're screaming in agony. For some reason, the idea of you then going and picking up your severed arm with your other hand is weirdly funny to me. I don't know why. It's not funny. It's fucked up. It just, that imagery is funny to me. I don't know why. Now he was desperately trying to reattach his severed arm, as if simply putting it up to his stump would be sufficient. His screams echoed throughout the hallway. The students around us were screaming and running. And Fess, she was calmly watching the panic, sword still in hand. Is she blushing? She like... And then she looked at me again. Her red tongue slowly licked her lips. She smiled, cheeks flushed.
気持ちいい。
Yeah, that's not where I thought that was going. All right. That would have been kind of awesome, but it didn't happen. Why would that be kind of awesome? What are you talking about? That would be crazy. While I was enjoying my delusion, Fess had whispered something and quickly disappeared.
自信なくすぜ。くそ。
Misumi was in a gloomy mood after being completely ignored. If she was able to so easily ignore an approach from a hot guy like him, maybe Fess was a Yuri type.
それはすごくいいスールです。
Her ideal partner would be a lolly type like, say, Nanami. Yep, totally.
あんな不愛想な女、もう二度と相手にしてや
So
るもんか。
grumpy. Wow!
ああ、うぜえ。大体、何が剣を見つけろだ。わけわかんねえ。
剣。
ああ、岸本がそう言ってただろ。剣を見つけろ。そうすれば救われるって。
Salvation.
なあ、タク。ファンタズムの歌に、そんな歌詞でもあるのか？
The sword. Did she mean that thing I'd just seen in my delusions? The one that looked like a mic stand? Come to think of it, just 2 days ago, somebody else had asked me about a sword. And also swung it at me. I guess he forgot about that part. The girl named Senna. She was really scary. I thought she might actually kill me. That sword she'd been holding was shaped differently, but it was similar to the one that Fess had at the concert. Was there some kind of connection between the two? I didn't understand. There was far too much I didn't understand. Shogun, the demon girl, Yua, Fess, Sen, the swords. Like always, whenever I didn't understand something, I made a little list inside my head. I thought about adding myself to the bottom of the list, but it stopped. I was just fine. It was everything else around me that was weird. Yeah, I was just fine. You're all crazy. You're all the crazy ones. I'm not crazy. Everybody else is crazy. Was Fess on my side? Or was she my enemy? That was all I needed to know. But I didn't have the courage to talk to her. Today I went to Animate instead of going to At Cafe. Why? To get my long-awaited Blood-Toon Seiratan post-awakening version figure. Uh-oh. He's not the only one who pre-ordered one of those. Think he's gonna run into an old friend. When I bought it, I saw an image of Yua's face in my mind for just a second, but I quickly shut down that line of thought. There was a Seiratan display at the store, and the figure they had out for show was every bit the quality work I'd come to expect from its designer, Yoshio Kijima. Time to head home and stare at every inch of her body. All I had to do was be happy was play ESO and stare at Seiratan once in a while. So why were these 3D people bringing all their problems to me? Why did this keep happening? As I forgot all about Fess and the swords, I was happily returning to the base. Oh, no, maybe not. Uh-oh. We've run afoul of the law. I ran into a pair of men who looked out of place, just 50 meters or so from home. I tried to avert my gaze and avoid them, but one of them was clearly looking directly at me.
そこの君、ちょっといいかい?
The one who spoke to me first was an unimpressive-looking middle-aged man, the kind you might see at a betting track. His hair was a mess, and he had stubble on his chin. His suit was tattered, and his necktie wasn't tied right. His leather shoes showed no sign of ever being cleaned, and he looked just like an overall loser. Wow! If you take out the image and just go with the very specific, go specifically with the description, he's describing Dick Gumshoe. Absolutely, like 100%. To a T. For some reason, he was waving a cheap 100 yen paper fan at himself, which only added to the impression that he was one of life's losers. Damn! He had a dopey look on his face, too. Really stupid looking grin. I think he looks pretty cool. I don't lie. Fine. When I met his gaze for a second, I saw no traces of that stupid grin reflected in them. There was nowhere to run. As I stood there, unsure of whether or not to answer, the two of them walked over to me.
おじさん、こういうものなんだけどさ。
He took out a black notebook with an ID on the flap and showed it to me. It was a police notebook, like you saw on TV shows. They'd finally come for me. There was only one reason I could think of: the crucified killing.
ちょっと話を聞かせてもらっていいかい? もちろん強制じゃないんだけどね。あ、そんな身構えなくていいよ。本当話聞くだけだから。
There was absolutely no pressure in his voice, but the other detective with him, the younger one, had a stern look on his face and had quietly moved to block my path. I started to sweat. If I said the wrong thing here, they might think I was the killer and arrest me. Please, no. I gave up on running and nodded very slightly.
君さ、俗に言うニュージェネレーションの狂気って知ってるかな?
I knew it. I wiped the sweat off my brow and nodded.
じゃあ、3番目に起きた通称貼り付け殺人事件も当然知ってるよね。この近所で起きたわけなんだけども、その目撃者を探してるわけよ。あ、ちなみに君、名前聞かせてくれる?
I gulped. Was this whole thing a Kome's trap? Maybe they were just pretending to be police, trying to get me to reveal my private information so they could use it for something bad. Or maybe they were working with the demon girl?
あれ答えてくんないのかな
There was no way to be sure either way. What should I do? If I give them a fake name, they might arrest me.
ああ、個人情報保護法とか気にしてるおじさんそんなに信用なさそうに見えるかな
You do. The friendly way you're talking to me is just an act, right?
西条匠
In the end, I couldn't come up with any brilliant plans to talk my way out of this, so I decided to just tell the truth.
うん西条匠くんでいいかい
I nodded.
本当に
Huh? The hell did that mean? I was nice enough to give you my real name. Why are you reacting like that?
いやこれは失礼今のは気にしないでくれ
Yeah, that was weird. His laugh was a little too loud to be real. It echoed throughout the quiet street. I want to go home.
その制服水明だよね何年生
Did I have to tell him that too?
に
悪いね聞き取れなかったおじさんもう年だから耳遠くてさもう一度言ってくれる
2年生
ああ2年生ねどうもで西条さん聞きたいことってのは先月の29日の午後6時から10時頃にかけてどこで何してたかなんだわ
Was this one of those alibi things? Did they suspect I'd done it? No way.
いや別に君を疑ってるわけじゃなくてさその時間にこの近くにいたなら怪しい人物を見かけたとか何か音を聞いたとかないかと思ってね
The way he talked was starting to really make me mad. Maybe it was some kind of special technique he used to anger the people he was talking to. But I had seen someone suspicious. I'd gotten a clear look at them. I wasn't sure if it was safe to tell him, though. What if I did and the demon girl came after me? For now, she seemed to be leaving me alone. But she had Shogun with her, and he could see the future. She must have all kinds of crazy powers herself. It was the only explanation. The only explanation! Only one, and this is it. If I told the police about the demon girl, she might find out about it with her clairvoyant powers, and then she might come to kill me.
なあ西条くん今日はそんなに
Problem, or counterpoint, if she can see the future, or has someone that can see the future, and you were going to tell them who it was, why wouldn't she kill you before you did that? My pulse quickened. If I didn't answer, they were sure to think I was the criminal, but it felt like if I said I hadn't seen anything, they'd see right through me. The man waved his fan at me. Cool air ruffled my hair. That's rude. Don't wave fans at people without their consent.
もうすっかり秋だ汗かくほど暑いとは思えんけどなまあ体質ってのは人それぞれだしな
It was strange to hear that from a man who carried a fan around, but he was right. It wasn't that hot today. It was a pleasant temperature, if anything. I wiped away the sweat from my brow with my sleeve.
僕はやってない
おお
His eyes changed. I knew I'd screwed up, but I didn't know how.
何をやっていないんだ
He suspected me. I had to tell him. I stared at the cover of the manhole near my feet as I yelled.
見たんです貼り付けの現場そこに女がいたんですで血まみれにして死体の前に杭がたくさん死体に突き刺さっててあれ500本は絶対超えてた異常だ死体がハリネズミみたいになってて女は僕を見てよかったって笑ってたあの女は悪魔だ人間じゃないニュージェネの母には人を超えた存在なんだヨシとかすごい超能力とか使う
I would have stopped maybe 3 sentences before 3 sentences ago is where I would have stopped, I think. Only then did I realize that the two detectives were looking at me with their mouths wide open in shock. This guy's face, it's so weird. It's like he's literally, if you split his face, like, I'll put a line down the middle and covered one half, he looks like thrilled. He looks like really happy. He's like, But then if you cover the other, he looks genuinely distraught. Like, What is that face? It's crazy. Maybe they didn't believe me. I fell silent again.
悪魔か。なるほどね。そいつは参考になったよ。
Don't patronize me, Mr. Detective Man.
本当です。
No.
ああ、分かってる分かってる。貴重な情報だよ。
僕を警察で守ってください。
その前に、その女の年は分かる。服装とか顔の特徴とか。
水明。
水明って水明学園？
その制服着てた。
つまり西条君と同じ学校の生徒か。
He thought for a moment and then grinned. It was hard to tell if his next words were a question or a whisper.
何年生だろうな、その女子高生は。
I mean, both. It was a whispered question.
何年生だと思う？西条君。
わからない。
じゃあ、なんて名前だと思う？
わからないよ。僕はあの悪魔の名前なんて
Yeah, why would he know that?
その女の身長、体重、あとついでにスリーサイズについては。
He's just fucking with him now. What a dick. Who was this guy? Was he making fun of me? The hell would I know any of that? I don't have the magic power of determining a girl's measurements just by looking at her, like the hero of some harem manga.
なるほど。黙ってるってことはわからないってことだね。結構。参考になったよ。これは本部に戻って検討しないといかんな。
先輩、マジっすか?
The older detective made a motion with his hand to silence the younger one, then shot at him a meaningful glance.
西条君、ちなみに連絡先とか教えてもらえる？
なんで
They didn't believe me after all. They thought I was crazy. They were going to accuse me of doing it.
ああ、だって悪魔だっけ？そいつから君を守らなくちゃならないだろ？
Oh, I see. Good. They believed me. They're playing you like a fiddle, man. I'd feel so much better if the police were protecting me. Of course, maybe even the police couldn't do anything about a demon, but it was better than being all alone. Feeling a little relieved, I took out my new phone and showed the detectives the number. The younger one copied it down.
いや、忙しいところありがとうさ。君の身の安全は警察が保証するから、何の心配もしなさんな。じゃあ、また何か聞きたいことができたら電話するかもしんないんで、その時はよろしくね。イルスとか使わないでくれよ。今のところ警察にとっては君は重要な人物だからな。
え？
君の目撃証言は事件解決の重要な手がかりになりそうだ。じゃあな。
The two of them bowed and quickly left. The younger one was looking back at me and whispering something to his partner. The older one was walking quickly and ignoring him. I let out a deep sigh. Wow, that was nerve-wracking. I'd never been interrogated by a real police officer. It was pretty scary, but they seemed to believe me. Maybe. I'd hoped the police would catch the demon woman. But everybody said that the police were incompetent, right? So I shouldn't get my hopes up too much. Only then did I notice how thirsty I was, so I bought a bottle of soda from a nearby vending machine.
覚醒バージョン残すエロすぎパンモノじゃんかだがそれがいい顔かわいいよ顔原作再現度はいまいちだけどプンプンと漂うエロスが木島よしおらしさだよなこれはこれでグッジョブ上着キャストオフとかこの角度からじゃほとんど全裸にしか見えんひょー髪の動きがいいよな覚醒バージョンは髪が命って持論があるわけだが間違ってなかったなさてそれではお待ちかねパンツいってみようかどれどれV ゾーンの作り込みいいよシワの付き方リアルだしってこれスージーさんすげえマジですげえクオリティ高すぎ
Good lord.
セーラタン5作目にして早くも最高傑作爆誕じゃねえこれ以上すごいのなんて出せないってマジでやっぱ木島は神
Carefully placed my new Sarah 10 next to the PC monitor. Sarah, you're so sexy. Oh boy. Looking at her made me grin. This was a moment of pure joy. I log on to the @chan to share my thoughts on the Sarah 10 figure. When that was done, I checked my email and looked at Frepara to see if I had any new friend requests.
おっとマイフレ申請来てるじゃん誰これセーラコミの人かはいはい
You're gonna be Shogun.
ゲイですよ
And just when I was ready to log into ESO, I felt a prickling on the back of my neck. It was the same intense gaze that I always felt. Whose eyes are those? I want green. Give me the green. Damn it, not now. When did I first start feeling that gaze? I'd totally forgotten by now. But it kept getting in my way. A lot of things were happening that would interrupt my daily life, but the gaze was right up there with Nanami for being obnoxious. Okay, time to play the game again. Time to play the I'm not turning around that easily game. I kept my eyes locked on my computer monitor and tried to think of a cool line.
貴様出てこい僕の目をごまかせるとでも思ったか甘いな
バレちゃった。
当たり前だ僕の後ろに立つなと何度言えば
Huh? Did I just hear a girl's voice? I froze. Had the owner of the gaze finally shown themselves? Was that possible? Should I turn around and see who she was? But what if she attacked me as soon as I did? Hold on, the screen isn't going all wavy. It did the like whoosh 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 thing, but the screen isn't waving. What is... Now I can't tell if it's real or not. Ah! I'm like staring at still parts of the screen trying to see any movement. And I'm not seeing any movement, which is concerning. We know what that... I have... There's precedent for that. Oh. But what if she attacked me as soon as I did? She sounded pretty cute. But what if she was a terrible monster? No, if she was a monster, she might be getting ready to attack me right now. If I didn't turn around, I could die before I even realized what was happening. Should I try saying something else to see if she answered? It could have just been a delusion, or maybe I'd just been hearing things. You know, like how I always hear my Seraton figure talking to me. Like that. I tried to say, "Who the hell are you?" but I cut myself off. It wouldn't be smart to say anything to set them off, right? I might provoke them into attacking me. I was seeing so many awful things in my delusions that I couldn't move. What should I do? Maybe I was just being an idiot. If there was nobody there, and I was just sitting in my chair, scared to death of my own delusion... If there was nobody there, and I was just sitting there in my chair, scared to death of my own delusions, I'd look like the world's biggest moron. To who? There's no one here.
固まってる
It wasn't a delusion. I wasn't hearing things. There was somebody behind me. Yeah, the screen isn't waving. I think this is real. I think that's the key. Or maybe not. I don't know. The screen isn't waving. Shocked, I turned around. Oh dear. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. It was the demon girl. It was the girl I'd seen during Crucified. She was right there, sitting on my sofa. For some reason, she was grinning as she looked at me. Oh no, oh no, oh no. She was here to kill me at last. It was because I talked to those cops. She'd used her clairvoyant powers to see me doing it remotely. And now she'd snuck into my room without making a sound so she could watch me cry and scream and beg for mercy and then kill me. I knew it. Don't kill me, I tried to scream, but I was too scared to get the words out. She stared at me, tilting her head, and recited a strange spell. She must be... Spell. She must be speaking in the demon language. She was going to curse me. I tried to hide under my desk to put as much distance between us as I could, but I was panicking so much that I hit my head on the edge instead, and crumpled to the ground in pain. She still had a happy smile on her face. Who is this chick? But it was just a trap to get me to drop my guard. I was sure of it. The second I let my guard down, she would come for me. Or maybe that spell a second ago had cursed me. In a few days, my body would start spurting blood from all its pores, and then I'd die. I curled up into a little ball on the floor, cursing the detectives I'd met earlier.
警察に喋ったこと謝るから。
警察？
それに話してもちっとも信じてもらえてなかったし。
That was just a lie I told to buy time. The detectives had said they'd protect me. If that older guy was doing his job right, he'd surely send an officer to protect me. Then I realized. I told the officer my phone number, but I hadn't given him my address. She suddenly struck a pose, like she was at attention. And then even more strange, she made the sound effect of her hand snapping to attention with her mouth. Is this another demon spell? She didn't know? Was this some kind of joke? Or was this her way of telling me to forget that anything had ever happened? What was this girl thinking? Hadn't she come here to kill me? She got up from the sofa and offered me a hand. Her expression looked so kind, and up close, I could tell that she was pretty cute. Fooled! Wait, what had gotten into me? She was a demon. She wasn't pretty cute. She was a murderer. She'd used Yua and Shogun to try and set me up, and now she was here to kill me herself. I couldn't let myself believe her. I'd learned my lesson with Yua. I'd never make the same mistake again. I didn't take the hand she offered me. I couldn't let her smile fool me. It was a demonic temptation, and if I gave in to it, I'd die. Don't believe in anything. Don't listen to anything anyone says.
見たんだ。お前が人を殺してるとこ。
あのさ、タク、それかなりひどいこと言ってるって気づいてる？まさか殺人犯呼ばわりされるなんてね。
Is she like from the future or something? What is happening? Because she's like super familiar with him. He doesn't know who the hell she is. What is happening? What was she doing here?
ニュージェネの
like the other 4 times.
殺すんでしょう。それとも岩とか将軍とかがいる場所に連れてって。
ユア？将軍？誰それ？
Maybe the 3 of them were going to work together and kill me when I was helpless.
そんなの嫌だ。助けて。
じゃあね、私を殺人犯扱いしなければ助けてあげる。
I knew it!
そんなビビらないでよ。いちいち私がへこむようなリアクションしてくれるよね。
お願いだ。もう二度と誰にも喋らないから。だから見逃して。
もしもーし、タク、ちょっと落ち着こう。
She kept calling me Taku, like we were friends. How did she know my name anyway? She'd known my name when we first met at the scene of the Crucified. How? And how did she know where the base was?
当然でしょ。
Well, obviously she's a demon. She knows everything. Obviously.
あなたの名前を知ってるのは
She read my mind. She had magic clairvoyant powers. I knew it. That's how she found my name and address.
タクって結構独り言多いよね。前から思ってたことだけど。
Always? Since when was always? Wait, was I talking to myself? I couldn't tell. Really? Was I really talking to myself? Or was it possible she was lying? Was it possible she read my mind?
タクの名前を知らないわけないよ。私、物覚えはそんなに良くない方だけど。友達の名前くらい覚えるよ。
Friend?
それともタク、私のことバカにしてる？そりゃ私、テストの点数はそんなに良くないけど。面と向かってそういうこと言われると傷ついちゃうな。
Was she crazy? Wait, how could I be sure she was the crazy one? Was I crazy? Or was she?
もしかして転校生。
Maybe everyone's crazy.
そういえば
I feel crazy right now.
来るらしいよ。
I feel like
スカ
I'm
チ
going
ン
to lose
先
my
生が言っ
mind.
てた。
We were talking past each other. The fear that I could be killed at any moment was starting to fade. Instead, another type of fear was slowly working its way through my heart.
もしもし？その顔はまさかまだ信じてくれてない？
誰だ？
Who are you? She was the demon girl, a murderer.
タクこそクラスメートの顔を覚えてないんだ。ひどー。
We're classmates? Not just friends, but classmates. Did he like slip into a different dimension? What is happening?
でもまあしょうがないか。タクはあんまり学校来ないもんね。
He like tripped and fell into an alternate universe.
私の存在丸ごとなかったことにするのはどうかと思う。私の名前本当に忘れちゃった？そんなことないよね。知ってるでしょ？あなたは知ってるはず。
Me.
そう正解。賞金50円プレゼント。
I'm so lost.
私崎畑リミです。なんだ、やっぱり覚えててくれたんだね。よかったよかった。
Why? Was it true? Was the demon girl's name really Rimi? Why had that name just come to me all of a sudden? Why did I know who she was? Had I just forgotten and we really were classmates or friends or something? So I'm actually not super familiar with dissociative identity disorder. would he, like, if he has another personality, maybe that personality is friends with her, and I don't know if they share memories. I'm not, I don't know how it works, but, like, maybe that's the thing. I don't know what's happening. No, that was impossible. I'd never even heard the name Rimi Sakihara. It had to be a fake name. I'd said Rimi, and she just played along with it. It was all just a part of her game. The only 3D girl I knew would talk to me like this was Yua, anyway. And Yua worked for her. In a flash, I suddenly understood. The Sakihara girl was using the same trick Yua had used. It's Yua in a wig! Wait, that doesn't make sense. She was being all friendly, knowing that I wasn't used to talking to 3D girls. Then she'd set me up to fall into a trap. Of course, I didn't remember the faces of all my classmates, and I wasn't interested in trying, but I was sure I'd never seen her in my class. Wasn't I? No, I couldn't be sure. Every minute I spent at school, I spent at my desk, either enjoying delusions while pretending to sleep, or staring at the desk, pretending to read a textbook. I didn't remember any of my classmates' names. I'd never cared enough. Which was it? Was what this girl was saying was true? Was saying was true? Okay. Was what this girl was saying true? Okay. Yes. I will be with you in a moment. Yeah. Whoops. Did I miss that one? No, it didn't matter whether or not she was a classmate. The one thing I was sure of was that she was a murderer.
本気で思い出せないの？さっき頭打ったせいで記憶喪失になっちゃった？
The demon girl reached out a hand toward my head. I ran under the desk again to dodge it.
タク、変だよ。じゃあ、大地に聞いてみて。そしたら、タクも思い出せるかも。
Daichin? What the hell was that? A person's name? Some kind of code? A demon spell?
大地だよ、大地。ミスミ大
Oh, I was about, yeah, his name was Daisuke. Yeah. Okay. She knew Misumi's name? She called him Daichin. You wouldn't do that unless you were pretty friendly with him.
ちょっと待ってね。
She went over to the bag next to the sofa. It wasn't the one I owned, and took out her phone.
大地はと。よし、オッケー。はい。
She tapped it a few times and handed it to me. When I didn't take it, she chuckled and grabbed my hand.
ほら、固まってないで。
She forced the phone into my hand. The demon girl's hand was soft and a little cold. I was expecting it to be cold as ice, but it wasn't. I guess even murderers have warm blood running through their veins. Actually, it was a more girly hand than I expected, so my heart started to race a little. No, I couldn't let her fool me. She was a demon. I couldn't let her tempt me. I wasn't into 3D girls. Seiratan, give me power.
タク、携帯使ったことないの？電話機は耳に当てるんだよ。
She was so close to me, staring. She took my hand and brought it up to my ear. I looked at the phone's LCD screen. The phone said Daichin on it, and it showed that it was already calling him. I put the phone up to my ear. I could hear the sound of the ringing. But the sound cut off, and what I heard was... This is psychological torture at this point. Was he talking to me? To the demon girl? Why'd he said that? Whoever I was talking to, they were silent. They went silent. They didn't give a name. They must have been outside somewhere downtown, because I could hear the hustle and bustle of a crowd around them. I was confused. I couldn't speak. I didn't know what to say. Oh my god. Misumi, if it really was him, quickly resumed speaking as he usually did. Rimi Sakihara. Misumi knew her? No, that wouldn't be surprising. Misumi was a natural-born lady killer. I wouldn't be surprised if he dated her before, or even if he was dating her right now. The question remained, was the demon girl my classmate?
タク、大地に出た？
She was staring at me again. Damn it. Why did she have to be so close to me? I turned my back to her and spoke into the phone.
僕西条。
なんだタクか。リミと一緒にいるのか？
Why didn't he find it surprising at all? It almost sounded like he expected us to be together.
またリミに振り回されてるのか？大変だな、お前も。でもよ、一つだけ言っていいか？お前、そろそろ自分の携帯変えよ。
Was the person on the end of this line really Misumi? It was possible that she was just having me call somebody with a voice similar to his to fool me. The person with the Misumi-like voice was working for her, maybe, and trying to trick me. I was starting to get suspicious of everything. I didn't know what was the truth and what was a lie. Assuming the demon girl was willing to put in the time and effort to set up a trap like that, what kind of trap was it specifically? Wouldn't it be faster for her to just kill me here? Or was there some reason that I had to be deceived, and even if it meant doing it in a really roundabout way? Wait, could it be some kind of trick Misumi was setting up? This girl was his girlfriend, not a classmate at all, but someone he just sent just to make fun of me. No, wait, not a chance. How would you explain the crucified murder then? That's true. I'm out of theories. I'm along for the ride at this point. I don't know what the hell's going on. It certainly sounded like Misumi. The more I heard him talk, the less likely it seemed that the person I was talking to could be anybody but Misumi. I wasn't sure where to start. I could feel someone looking at me from behind. The girl was staring at me. And the prickling on the back of my neck was still there. But what kind of face was she making? I wanted to look back and see, but I was too scared. I was stammering really badly, but I finally managed to explain to him. He suddenly falls silent. There was no answer. But I could still hear the bustle of the crowd, so he hadn't hung up. Why wasn't he answering? I heard a massive sigh. That was a massive sigh. Hold on, what was that? That's like game brain? Gaming brain. Some studies have shown that when a person plays video games, the amount of beta waves their brain emits drops precipitously. The idea of gaming brain, or games causing brain damage, assumes that prolonged exposure to this state can harm emotional control and reasoning ability. This theory was widely reported by the media, and for a time it was considered to be a serious social problem. However, there are questions about the reliability of the methods used to make these brainwave readings, and some have called the theory into doubt. I am living proof that... What were we talking about? I forgot what we were talking about. I play games... Yeah, Anyway. What was he talking about? And anyway, it wasn't true that video games damaged your brain. Yeah, agreed. It's a fair point. Like, from his perspective,
本当にクラスメイト。
お前な、たまにしか学校来ねえから忘れちまったか。俺はともかく、お前は1年の時から同じクラスだろ。この前だって3人で一緒に映画見に行ったじゃねえか。
Just the other day! I couldn't understand what this Misuki? I couldn't understand what this Misuki-like person was saying. Also, who the hell is Misuki? The demon girl and I had been in the same class the whole time. The three of us went to see a movie the other day. When was the other day?
俺がお前とダチになったのだって、最初はリミに付き合わされたのがきっかけだったしな。俺と同じでリミも物好きだからよ。ニートのお前を気にかけてやってるのは世界広しといえど俺とリミぐらいだぜ。
Oh. That might be the meanest thing he said. That's like, damn.
あ、それは言い過ぎか。
That might be the single most brutal sentence I've seen in this game. Not a single one of the words coming through the phone felt real. How could they? None of the things he was describing existed in my memories. I couldn't accept that they'd ever happened. What was this what this Misumi-like person was telling me wasn't true. It wasn't real. If something really happened, you remembered it.
っていうか、リミってマジで女っ気ないよな。おっと、これはあいつには言うなよ。
君は誰だ。
おいおい、マジでおかしくなったか。俺のことまで忘れたわけか。ゲームやりすぎ。
I couldn't take any more, so I hung up the phone. I suddenly realized that I was having trouble breathing. The sweat coming off my brow showed no signs of stopping. If anything, it was getting worse. I could feel it dripping off me and landing on the ground below.
たく、汗びっしょりだよ。
The demon girl looked genuinely worried as she handed me a handkerchief. It was a cute red one with no pattern on it. The handkerchief had a slightly floral scent. I didn't take it. Instead, I tried to get straight in my head what was going on. It didn't work though. I just started getting suspicious of everything.
で、大地はなんて？
I gave a slightly disappointed sigh as she put away the handkerchief. Then she took on a victor's smile. It was as if she'd known the answer from the start. I didn't have the strength to answer her. Who was this woman? Just my classmate? Or a monster? I didn't know. Maybe I was just crazy. Thinking back to my chat with Shogun, I couldn't be sure that someone else wasn't controlling my body. Or maybe there was some kind of accident that took my memories of this Rimi Sakihara girl away from me and left my other memories intact. What the hell was wrong with me? Amnesia? Sleepwalking? Something else?
大丈夫？体、辛いならソファーで横になる？
The demon girl spoke kind words to me. I needed to be especially careful around anyone who said kind words to me. Anybody who'd be nice to a creepy otaku like me definitely had some kind of ulterior motive. I shook my head no and then forced myself to look up. The sweat got in my eyes and made my vision blurry. Her face was closer than I thought it would be. What color were her eyes? Kind of pinkish?
なんで
何何？
ここにいる。
なんでって、タクに会いに来たんだよ。もしかして勝手に部屋に入ったこと怒ってる？
Like, if it is just a matter of like he has a different personality that they don't share memories, it seems weird that this is the first time this has happened, right? Like, it seems you'd think there'd be more, like this would have happened earlier. This kind of like overlap of life, especially considering they go to the same school. Like,
結構長い時間ノックしてたんだから。
I handed back the phone. As I watched her take it, I asked again.
なんで
今度は何？
ここにいる。
Why had she visited me? She came here to kill me. Why wasn't she doing anything?
ああ、ここに来た理由？ね。
Her hand went into her bag, and she took out a handout.
はい。進路希望のプリント持ってきてあげたの。
I took it from her. It said post-graduation plans, with 3 blocks below for first preference, second preference, and third preference. Was that really it? Was that the only reason?
帰ってよ。
I didn't want anything to do with her. It was a terrible idea to get involved with 3D girls. 2D girls are fine. 3D girls are the problem. This was some kind of trap. Don't listen to her. This isn't real. This is a video game. A really buggy game. Look at all these weird plot contradictions. It doesn't make any sense as a story.
僕に関わらないでよ。
Who made this game? Bethesda? If you're not here to kill me, then just go away. I'm me, not somebody else. Maybe some other me was friends with Rimi Sakihara, but that had nothing to do with the real me. I put my head in my hands and closed my heart to the outside world. I shivered, trying to imagine a delusion where the girl named Rimi Sakihara wasn't in my room. I soon heard the sound of a door opening, which told me that the demon girl had left. What's happening? The only light in the dark room was the pale blue glow of the monitor. It was a screensaver featuring Seira, a character from Bloodtoon the animation. You don't say. Rimi Sakihara had been in this container house just half a day ago, but now its only occupant was its owner, Takumi Nishijo. It was getting close to 5 a.m. Takumi's daily life revolved around playing video games until dawn, and then passing out on the sofa. Right now, he was curled up in a cramped position on the sofa. He didn't sleep on the bed. He had one, but he didn't sleep on it because it was piled too high with CDs and manga volumes. At first, he'd just been too lazy to clean it off, and then at some point, it began to function as a storage shelf. Ever since then, he'd been sleeping on the 2-person sofa. An awful moan slipped from Takumi's lips. His body was soaked with sweat, and his eyelids were twitching. He might have been having a nightmare. I also noticed we've switched to a third-person perspective in terms of the narration. That's interesting. His expression warped with pain. He kept tossing and turning as he lay there, almost falling off. Suddenly, his eyes opened wide, and he stared at the ceiling. His eyes were bloodshot, and the eyeballs themselves seemed to be twitching a little. He stood up without blinking even once, and staggered over to his PC. He didn't sit down. Instead, he moved the mouse while standing up. The screensaver on his monitor disappeared and was replaced by his desktop. His expression, illuminated by the pale light of the monitor, was vacant and empty. His body trembled and shook from side to side. Drool pooled and fell from his mouth. He looked exactly like the typical sleepwalker. Okay. He opened up his internet browser in a trance and went to the page for @chan. His movements were slow and uneven, but there was no hesitation in his hands as he went directly for the news board's new gen threads. There were almost 60 in all, and Takumi opened every single one. His gaze was locked on the screen, and he was typing on the keyboard without looking down at it. He typed a message into each of the 60 threads. The messages he typed were short ones, and the same message was posted in every thread. Whose eyes are those? Alright, I gotta go. Bananas. It's out of control. My brain is fried. Fried chicken. But, like, my brain. Alright, bye.